To be joined over the phone by Dr. Mostafa Tamaam, Professor of Political Science. Hello, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Dr. Tamaam, the 30th of June and the 3rd of July marks a turning point in Egypt's history. How do you assess Egypt's achievements during the past 10 years?
Well, actually, Egypt has progressed in various domains during the last 10 years. In the economic domain, we had the economic reform program, which started in 2016, and certainly without this program, certainly you see a lot of countries suffered because they didn't plan ahead. But fortunately, the drawbacks and the negatives were minimal here due to the economic program. On the agriculture side also, we had a lot of, the agriculture dimension was neglected in the past, unfortunately. We had a lot of projects encouraging people to go into the agricultural domain. The 1.5 million Fedan project is one example. In the infrastructure, certainly you had the roads and the electricity. You remember since a long time, 10 years, before 10 years, you used to have power cuts at night for 7 or 8 hours. Now we have a surplus of electricity. Also in the energy sector, we have the green energy and we have the atomic center, which will be probably established soon. And also in the oil and gas industry, you see in the past, unfortunately, when you had the Muslim Brotherhood, they didn't pay the foreign partners their shares, so a lot of foreign oil companies went out of business and didn't come to Egypt to invest, you see. So, but lately, after paying $6 billion, the state paid $6 billion to these companies, we had a surplus in gas, and they encouraged investment in the oil sector. Also in the transportation sector, we have a lot of public projects like the metro and the electric train. Certainly all this, these are long-term projects which are going to certainly give an impact for investment and elevating the economy.
Right. Well, sir, also Egypt's foreign policy has witnessed a lot of changes during the past 10 years. How do you assess the Egyptian international relations and the president great and several visits to and tours to several world countries? We've seen a large number of tours by the president to world countries until the recent tour to 3 African countries and his recent visit to France. And we've seen also a large number of world leaders visiting Egypt during the past 10 years. How do you assess Egypt's foreign policy?
Certainly, this is a dramatic improvement in the foreign policy, which was probably during before the 10 years was neglected completely. Certainly now this will give an image to the worldwide community that Egypt is improving and we are serious in developing the country in all aspects. On the other side, in the African dimension, we had the last meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh by the African Development Bank, which is leading the bank institution financing projects in Africa. Certainly, the results were very positive, and certainly having this conference in Egypt gives a message to the worldwide community that Egypt is probably giving a lot of importance to the African countries, and certainly the future is in the development of these countries because they have a lot of resources.
Right. As you mentioned, sir, a great change took place with regards to Egyptian-African relations and Egypt's chairmanship of the African Union. So how far do you think the change took place between Egypt and its African nations and the brothers?
Certainly, unfortunately, Africa was neglected before that. But now a lot of probably initiatives have been taken by Egypt, and probably a lot of Egyptian companies are participating in a lot of business in Africa now. Certainly, Egypt here could transfer the technology, specifically in the manpower. We have a lot of experience in agricultural dimensions, and I would like to give you an example that Sudan has very rich agricultural land, and certainly we have the manpower. So if we have a coordination between these two countries, certainly we could give the feeding of the Middle East. You see, Sudan could provide the feeding not only for Sudan, for all the Middle East. They have a lot of potential in this area. This is one of the examples. Another example certainly is the trade agreements between Egypt is probably making a lot of efforts between the worldwide community, Europe and United States and other countries and Africa, in order to encourage these countries to come and invest in Africa.
Right. Sir, also the social protection program was one of the main goals during the past 10 years. What's your take on that?
Certainly, this is a very important point you have raised. Now, probably the government is giving a lot of importance to the citizens which are living in villages in two domains, in the health sector and into the education sector. And certainly, because we have a lot of potential citizens that could be probably of added value to the economy if we give them decent life. Certainly also in the villages we had upgrading the infrastructure which was neglected since a long time. All these factors combined probably will give importance to these villages and would be a plus to the economy because probably they have a lot of resources that we've not been utilized in the past.
Mm-hmm. Right. Egypt has witnessed also the inauguration of a large number of mega projects, including infrastructure projects, road and access and bridges. We've seen also a great leap in the field of energy. How do you see the advances that Egypt has made in these fields?
Well, as I just mentioned, now in the oil sector, we are very now, we have a competitive edge in the gas industry. In the infrastructure, we have the electricity now. We have a surplus, where in the past we didn't have that. We had power cuts. In the social dimensions, we have a lot of programs like Takaful and Karama, which aim to upgrade the standard of living for the citizens living in the villages. So these are very, very important aspects which were unfortunately neglected in the past.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Mostafa Tamaam, our political analyst. Many thanks for your insight. And dear viewers, now we go to this report on the new administrative capital.
The new administrative capital, the NAC, is the largest urban community in the world with an area of 170,000 fiddans and includes 6 residential districts. The NAC is located 60 kilometers from Cairo, in between Cairo-Suez and Cairo-Ain al-Sukna roads. The new capital also falls between the province of Greater Cairo and Suez